Hello, class. I hope that you have gone through the anatomy for the nervous system, brain, spinal cord, ventricles, that kind of stuff, and gone through the lecture. At the end of the anatomy, I kind of scrolled through some slides different than the ones I talked about for the lecture. I think I might have flipped back and looked at a couple of those things during the lecture. I'm going to do that again this time in case you wanted to look at those again. I won't talk about them. I'm just going to flip through and let you look at those things because those slides are going over the anatomy for both nervous and special senses. And then when I do the actual lecture, I focus in on more of the physiology, but then I do relate to the anatomy as well. So today we're going to go through the anatomy for the special senses. So I'm going to turn me off and we're going to get right into the structures. Now, special senses includes hearing and balance, vision, taste, and smell, right? There's not a lot for taste and smell. There's a lot for the eye, and there are a few things for the ear. There is something, let me see, did I post that? Okay, I wanted to check something real quick and see that I have it. Okay, so let's look at some parts to the external ear. Now, you have done the pre-assignment for this, so there are some things that you should be able to label. What do you think? I'll give you a minute to look over those and try to label them. And so we start on the outside. The auricle or the pinna, the fleshy part of your ear that has the cartilage that you see on the outside. Auricle or pinna. Then you have this ear canal, external auditory canal, external ear canal, external acoustic meatus. I will take any of those terms for that. Okay, so all of those are part of the outer ear. And when we're done labeling these things, I'm going to come back and bracket these areas. So that's the outer ear. Then we have the middle ear. And here we have the tympanic membrane. That you will say, and not eardrum. And then we have the ossicles, and we'll name them all shortly when we look at them individually. And you won't call them by layman's terms, you'll call them by the actual terms, the anatomical names. But together, they're referred to as the ossicles. Those are the smallest bones in the body. And then we have this eustachian tube. And the eustachian tube might also be called the auditory tube. Okay. And I'm going to just call it. Okay. auditory tube. Those things are the middle ear. Tympanic membrane, the auditory tube, ossicles, those are the middle ear. Then the inner ear, we have the cochlea, the vestibule, and the semicircular canals. Okay. So let's zoom in on what's down here at the bottom. We'll come back to that picture in a second. So this has been pulled away. This is the tympanic membrane. And this has been pulled away and opened up so you can see it. So this part is the cochlea. This part is the vestibule. And this part is the semicircular canals. And this actually is the vestibular cochlear nerve. Vestibular cochlear nerve. Let's go back through those again. Okay, so this is the tympanic membrane. This is the cochlea. This part is the vestibule. These are the semicircular canals. And this is the vestibular cochlear nerve. Okay. Now let's go back and look at our ear again. So this part is the auricle or the pinna. This is the external auditory canal. This is the auditory tube or eustachian tube. You might see that. This is the tympanic membrane. These are the ossicles. And I keep forgetting that you cannot see my cursor. At least that's what some students told me. So let me go back. This is the auricle or the pinna. This is the external auditory canal. This is the auditory tube, tympanic membrane, the ossicles. Then we have the cochlea, the vestibule, the semicircular canals. And I didn't label it on here, but this is that vestibular cochlear nerve. Okay, one more time. The auricle or the pinna, the external auditory tube, tympanic membrane, the ossicles, the auditory tube. And then we have the cochlea, the vestibule, the semicircular canals, and the vestibular cochlear nerve. Same thing. We're just going to do some dots. Auricle. Well, let's do a different colored dot. Auricle. External auditory tube or external acoustic meatus. This is the auditory tube. This is the tympanic membrane. These are the ossicles. This is the cochlea. This is the vestibule. These are the semicircular canals. The auricle or the pinna. The external acoustic meatus. Tympanic membrane. Ossicles. Semicircular canals. Vestibule. Cochlea. Auditory tube. Okay, let's go back because I said that I was going to bracket off some areas here. Let's go back. So I think I need to do this. This external ear. Middle ear. Inner ear. Okay, so my external ear is going to consist of the auricle, the external auditory tube or external acoustic meatus. Uh, that's our outer ear. Our middle ear is going to consist of our ossicles, our tympanic membrane, and our auditory tube. Our inner ear is going to consist of the cochlea, the vestibule, and the semicircular canals. Okay. Then here, outer ear. Middle ear. Inner ear. Okay. Now, this is in that cochlea. Let's go back. When we looked at this right here. So the next thing we're going to look at is this thing open. What are we looking at inside? So the functional area inside of the cochlea. This is inside one box. Okay, so we're going to focus on the organ of Corti. So inside of our cochlea, we cut it open. It's a snail-shaped thing. If you cut it open, you get this structure inside. And so we're going to name these areas. So we have some spaces. They're called scala vestibuli, scala tympani, scala media, or cochlear duct. So let's label those things. Okay. Then we have some membranes here. We have the vestibular membrane, the tectoral membrane, and the basilar membrane. Let me change my color here. We aren't going to label everything on here. And okay, now this part in the middle here, this whole thing here, that's called the organ of Corti. Okay. Now I want to come back because these spaces, this scala vestibuli, scala tympani, scala media, are filled with fluid. And so I want you to know the names of those fluids there. Okay. So this is filled with perilymph. Oh, let me go back. I thought I was pointing to the right. So let's do that. Filled with. This is where I want to put that. Okay. So now I want you to get those things down, and then I'm going to blow this up so we can look at the organ of Corti. I'll give you a minute to get those things down. Okay. Now let's zoom in on this organ of Corti. So we're going to come back and label a couple of things here. So down here is my basilar membrane. And then here is my tectoral membrane. Okay. And I forgot the I in that. Okay, and so then we have a number of cells here. And these cells have hair-like structures that project into this tectoral membrane. And so we have two categories of cells, the outer hair cells and then the inner hair cell. So this one is the inner hair cell. And these are the outer hair cells. We'll talk about those more specifically when we talk about the physiology and what they're doing. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so you don't necessarily need everything on here, but we're going to that was a picture I got online, which looks different than the models that you have. And so there's a part there called the endolymphatic disc or sac that you don't really need to know. So we're going to not worry about that. So this part right here, you don't have to worry about naming. Okay. This is the vestibular cochlear nerve. Okay. This is the cochlea. This is the vestibule. These are the semicircular canals. Okay. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you something. I did not have it in my slides. So these are the ossicles, real up close. Malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay, and you see how they articulate with one another. Here's another illustration, malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay. I did not have a picture of that in the set of slides there, so I wanted to make sure I showed you those up close. Okay, let's go to the eye. Lots of structures on the eye, lots of muscles and other structures. So we look at the most external structures. We'll label those things. Let's see. As many as we can see. Okay, so this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Here, this is a tendon that is moving across the eye obliquely up here, and then it moves over to the corner. Let me get my pencil so I can draw it. You can see the fibers of the tendon here, and they go across here, and they loop around this thing called the trochlea. The muscle that they're attached to is back here. You can't see it because this muscle is moved over out of the way so you can see the tendon. So we're going to name these things, and hopefully I have another model that shows this muscle that's behind this. Okay, so this is the tendon to the superior oblique muscle. And this is my inferior oblique muscle. This is my lateral rectus muscle. This is my superior rectus muscle. This one is my medial rectus muscle. I can't see my inferior rectus muscle on this particular view. And then this is my optic nerve. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of these better on a different view. Yes, okay. So let's move this one up. Zoom in. Okay. So we can see the lateral rectus muscle here, superior rectus muscle here, optic nerve here. So we already named those. So let's name the ones we did not name. So we couldn't see this inferior rectus and we couldn't see this superior oblique muscle last time. Okay, now you can see that this superior oblique muscle, the fibers of the tendon are underneath here and they run here and it loops around this structure called the cochlea. And then the actual superior oblique muscle almost runs parallel to the rectus muscles. Okay, and then this one is superior rectus, this one is lateral rectus, this one is the inferior rectus, and then over here is the medial rectus. So the rectus muscles run front to back. And then we see our inferior oblique muscle down here. Okay. Here's another picture showing all of them. So we're going to just do some dots here. Okay. Superior oblique muscle, and this one is moved away. No, let me go back. That is not the superior oblique muscle. That is the superior rectus muscle. Superior rectus muscle, superior rectus muscle. This side is moved away. Lateral rectus muscle, lateral rectus muscle. Medial rectus muscle, you can hardly see the medial rectus muscle over here. Inferior rectus muscle, you can barely see it down there. You can see a peak of it down there, inferior rectus. Okay. Then we have inferior oblique. You can see that down here, inferior oblique. We have the superior oblique over here. You can peek it over there. And then here's a superior oblique tendon. Okay. And then this is the optic nerve. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at the parts of the eye. I'm not sure. I guess we can go with this labeling. Let's start with the piece that's been removed. So this piece at the bottom would have been sitting on top here. And so G is cornea. Now F is not the same thing here and here. They're rectus muscles. This one is superior on the part that's removed, and the part that's on the stand is inferior. But I'm just going to put rectus muscles here. E is the outer layer. The white of the eye is the sclera. The opening here in the center through which light passes is called the pupil. Colored part of your eye, and the pupil is in the center of it. That colored part of your eye is the iris. I won't label B. I think I'm going to label that at a different picture because I'm never going to point to it from this view. So we won't label it there. And then A is a choroid layer. For the choroid of the eye. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure why they labeled this white here. technically, I would say that I don't know. I'm not going to label that because if they're trying to give you the ciliary body, I won't identify it here in white. So we'll see that from a different view. Okay. Um, let's go back through those. Okay, so this is the cornea. These are rectus muscles. This one is superior rectus. This is inferior rectus. This is the sclera. This is the pupil. This is the iris. This is the choroid. And I am going to email you eye dissections if they're not already posted on the content page. As a matter of fact, let me just check that right now. I don't see them posted. So I am going to send you an email of the eye dissection. I'm going to see if I can post it. And if I can't, then I'm going to email it to you. Okay. Anytime I have to remind myself when I'm thinking of it. Okay, so this shows you a side view and the layers of the eye. So this is the cornea here. Oh, didn't want that. This is the cornea here. This is the lens here. This outer layer is the sclera. The dark layer in the middle is the choroid. This beige or I don't know, peachy color layer is the retina. This is the optic nerve, and where it comes in is the optic disc. Now, this is ora serrata, and then right here is the ciliary body. I'm not sure if that's what they were trying to show you before. So let's label these things. Okay. So our sclera is also called the fibrous tunic, and our choroid is also called the nutritive tunic, and the retina is also called the sensory tunic. Based on their function. When you are identifying, you can just use sclera, choroid, retina. But I'm just telling you these other names because you will need to know them just in general, what part they are. Okay. I feel like I want to show you more on the eye. Okay. I think there are different pictures on the discussion board, but I want to backtrack because I want to show you some things. So here, this ball represents the vitreous humor, which is a jelly-like mass in the back of the eye. They've taken this apart so you see the sclera, the choroid layer, this innermost layer here, and They've removed it from there. That innermost layer inside is the retina. This is the ora serrata here, ciliary body here. This is the inside of the iris. And the iris is the colored part. But mainly I wanted you to see this right here, which is the vitreous humor. In the back of the eye, and I was hoping that I had a good picture of it, but I don't think that I do. Let me see. No, that's all external. Let's see. No. So this doesn't show it, but I'm just going to illustrate it myself. There would be a little depression over here. And maybe I draw it the other way. Let me get a different color here. There would be a slight depression over here. And that would be the macula lutea. Maybe I need to be less messy. Oh, this is what I can do. If I want it thicker, I can just my pencil. Okay. And then in the center of that would be another little thing. Okay. So the depression itself is called the macula lutea. And the structure in the center of it is called the fovea centralis. So let's label those. The macula lutea is like the focal point. And the fovea centralis is in the center of it, and it contains a lot of cones. And cones are for color vision. Okay. And they're not far from the optic disc. Okay. And I think on the discussion board, you got pictures that illustrate that better. Okay. On the discussion board, I know you got a bunch of different pictures of tongue models. So some better than these. Here, here, here. So we have 3 ridges on the tongue, or really 4 ridges on the tongue. 3 we can appreciate here. Let's zoom in. So these are called papillae, and the ones in the back here are circumvallate papillae. And the ones that are medium sized and scattered all over the tongue are fungiform. And the ones that are the ridges on the side of the tongue are called foliate. And then all over the tongue, they're too tiny to see, are the filiform papillae. Okay. Circumvallate are the big ones in the back. Fungiform are the ones scattered all over the tongue. And then the ridges or wrinkles on the side of the back of the tongue are called foliate. Let's see. I think you have a model like this. Yeah. In your in the discussion board. So here's the same thing. Circumvallate, fungiform, foliate. Now, the rest of this picture is those same things blown up, and we'll label them on that. And this one also has the filiform. So these are circumvallate. These are fungiform. These pointy things are the filiform, and then these wrinkles are the foliate. So let's label those. Piliform papillae are so tiny, they are small enough to be actually on top of the other ones. Okay, and then for smell, we just have the olfactory bulb. You already know where that is. It lies on the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, and that has holes in it, and then the fibers run through. So those nerves run through and create this olfactory mucosa. And there's no model that specifically shows that, although we do have half-head models that show this cribriform plate and then where this olfactory mucosa would be. Okay. Let me do this. And at any time you need to pause this and take a closer look at anything that's on these slides, please do so. If you've already gone through the lecture, you will have seen much of this already, in addition with an explanation. We have not had the special senses lecture yet. Now, with regards to the anatomy, and I'm going to talk about this with the lecture, none of the models show this. The lacrimal gland is superior and lateral. So a lot of people think that the structure that produces tears is down here. It's not. The gland is up here, and what we have down here is kind of a drain, so that the tears wash across the eye here, and then they pour into these little openings here, which are the drains. And we'll talk about that when we do the lecture. Okay, so we got our sclera out here, and the continuation of that is the cornea, but it's just transparent anteriorly. And then we have our middle layer, which is the choroid layer, which is nutritive, and it's also muscular anteriorly. So then we have the ciliary body, which is the anterior portion of that. And it has these tiny fibers called suspensory ligaments that extend to the lens. Okay, and then anterior to the lens is the iris, which is the colored part of the eye. And then the retina is this innermost layer. Here is that macula lutea with the fovea centralis. Same thing over here. We'll look at that in the lecture. So here's my iris. This is the pupil, the opening. Here's the lens. This is the ciliary body and the suspensory ligaments. Here's the iris. The opening is the pupil, ciliary body, suspensory ligaments to the lens. Let's zoom in on that. This is that vitreous humor that we were talking about before. It's a jelly-like mass. Oh, didn't mean to do that. And we didn't talk about what's inside of the vestibule and what's inside of the semicircular canals. We will when we do the lecture. So this is showing that olfactory bulb sitting on the cribriform plate, those fibers running through and then creating this olfactory mucosa. Okay. So tomorrow I will post a lecture for special senses. Um, and then we will have all the notes we need for the exam. I believe everything is open so you can access all of the notes. And I'm going to go see if I can upload this eye dissection or I will email it to you.